Welcome back. We are here with Phineas, aka Phinestro. Phineas, how are you doing today, man?
Doing all right, doing great. Feel a little bit more rested.
Yes, I'd love that. It's awesome to reconnect. It's obviously been a while since we
Yeah,
chatted, so I'm just so excited to dive into you and what you're doing. So you've been in the music industry for a long time as
yeah,
a producer, as a audio engineer, as a composer. How did all of this start?
man. Interestingly, I shared this story before. When I was as young as I'd say 6, 7, my brother, he's a singer, and back in those days, we had karaoke machines with tape decks and the cassette tapes. He taught me how to multi-track record from one tape to the next tape. I did not know that was production. It was
Wow.
for fun. And I used to even tape cassette tape VHS, like you videotape like my favorite shows. So I was like, oh, I could also do this with audio as well. So I learned how to make stop breaks. I know how to make clean cuts. And this is when I was like 6, 7, 8.
Oh, wow. So super young.
So fast forward as I got older, and then most computers. Well, I was in a gifted program, so most computers in the lab of the middle school or junior high school or even elementary school, we had like the old Mac books, those iMacs, and I knew how to like function around recording a little bit here and there. There was some little programs here and there, and then eventually I got older. PlayStation had that this thing. This is before FL like Fruity Loops. PlayStation had these games that you play to make loops and stuff. So it really became part of my whole life. It was just a game. It was just like a
Yeah.
thing to do as a family. And then eventually I became, well versed to monetize off of that. Um, just off of just being there around people who needed the help the most.
That's awesome. And it's crazy to kind of see that the PlayStation kind of led into your interest there because that shocked me because I wouldn't expect you, to kind of learn from like the PlayStation and like things like that. But that's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
And
the PlayStation was really ahead of its time at that time. It was so crazy how the yeah, you could have done anything. And then F like Fruity Loops came out for PC and stuff. But I was really playing a lot of the PlayStation Music Maker games, making some cool loops and like beats here and there. I didn't know what how I did it. I just knew it was natural. Again, I was coming from the analog, you know, stage of my life when I was young. So it seems very intuitive.
that's crazy. And throughout your long career, you've worked with many big brands like Marvel, Nike, and Sony. How is it working with these huge brands?
It's interesting. Um, how I got that gig, and I shared another podcast some time ago. It was probably a God divine thing because at that time, Andrew Garfield, he was doing some humanitarian work in Haiti. I'm Haitian, my
Yes.
family from Haiti. My mother's a missionary too, so it's interesting. A lot of the big Marvel superstars. You got the Batmans, you got the Superman, you got Spider Man. They were all what orphans. They were people who were adapted or had that narrative of being an orphan or someone who's being adapted to another family. So Andrew Garfield partnered with Worldwide Orphans, and Jane, who's the CEO of Worldwide Orphans, they have an orphanage in Haiti. I was like, that's cool. So my friend in high school, Luis Vera, he's a director, and he was in the meeting. He was actually not supposed to be in the meeting, but he was eavesdropping, so they just brought him anyway. And the first person he thought about, oh, I got to get my friend Phineas to score this. And prior to that experience, this is 2012, I did not have any scoring experience. Like the only thing that I had at that time was I had a song placed on the Kardashian show, which was like an EDM song, which did pretty well. Actually, it was on Kylie Jenner's 16th birthday, and that still pays me till today. That still pays me. So
Jeez.
that was the only reference of commercial success, so to speak. So yeah, and then they got my name in, and they was like, okay, Marvel. I think Sony, the producers, they said me, okay, we want it to sound like this. Mind you, the Spider-Man there, I think Hans Zimmer was the composer of that Spider-Man, of course. But they, because of my friend advocating to Andrew, I met Andrew like for a brief 20 minutes. It was like a promo that they was doing in the city in New York. And I was speaking to him and I told him about myself and stuff. So he advocated me to Marvel for me to do this. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like sweating. Like, so they sent me this whole brief. I was like, yeah, we wanted to sound like this. They sent me Superman. I'm like, okay, great. I gotta learn how to score, counterpoint.
Yeah.
So I was very gracious that some friends in the industry, they had some sounds. They lent me a hard drive. Yo, I have all the string sounds. So I was staying up for like almost 72 hours. I gave them 3 drafts and they
Jeez.
chose one of the 3, and the rest was history, you know. And it's on the DVD on Spider-Man 2, and it's my original work. They did not pay me for that gig because I work with a nonprofit, but my copywritten original work is on an actual DVD. You can listen to it. So that was the big door opening for me, being that I wasn't signed, being that I was, besides Hans Zimmer, I'm the other composer
Yeah.
on a big blockbuster film promoting my home country. You know, that's, if that wasn't a God divine thing, I don't know what that was. So I think it had a little to do with my talent, and how it had a whole lot to do with my impact and my availability, you know, and the
Yeah.
rest changed my trajectory in my career from there.
That's awesome. And you said that you didn't have any scoring experience before
Prior
that,
to
really,
that,
prior.
no, yeah, a lot of people don't understand. I came from a very interesting background. So I started playing in a church, in a gospel church, you know,
Okay.
guitar, but I didn't go the gospel R&B hip hop route that everyone did in my church. I actually went the opposite. I did more EDM, dance music type stuff, remixes. So that was where I was coming from. Because again, the first placement that I've gotten was actually before the Kardashian show. It was Jeremy Scott, Adidas wings. He made his wing sneakers, and they used that music on Adidas. And then a week later, I got a congratulations, your song is placed on a Kardashian show,
Jeez.
which blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I understood that licensing your property or music to something, it was a big deal. And this was back in 2012. So I could say that coming from that gospel world to just do completely something different that no one in my area was doing, I knew that I had no competition. I just
Yeah.
did it because I loved it and it was fun to do. And I think because it's the same thing, kind of like when I was young, just swapping audio, learning the ins and outs of what the program does. I'm a musician, so I'll figure it out. And it sounded good enough for it to be on a DVD of Spider-Man. I'm sure it's good enough to do other things. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's amazing. That's insane that, just how like opportunities come about. Like, wow, like this is crazy. And so, are we good?
yeah, I'm good.
Okay. On top of that, you're also a Emmy nominated composer for the film Unmarked. Could you kind of give a backstory on how this happened?
Another divine connection. So, the lead composer, he go by the name of Jordan Preston, and he's in town. He's an amazing guy. I've known for a while since I moved down here to Lynchburg, Virginia. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, but I moved back to the college town that I went to college here. I went to Liberty University, and you know, that's where I reconnected with my wife. I got married. I moved here. You know the whole fairy tale. So he told me, "Hey, I need help. I need some composing for this film." So little did I know, another story I wanted you to know. Uh, do you remember? Was it Alex Haley? He did the Roots, the original Roots, the book. It's a big saga series of the Roots, which is the coming of age of African ancestor going through and navigating through American, you know, the kind of whole story from Africa in here. So the nephew was actually the producer of that, which is amazing. So it was funny that I was just composing music just to see, okay, making sure that the talking points were good. So eventually years later, after 2019, they was like, oh, um it's now going to be used towards to promote the awareness of the African burial grounds all over the nation from Richmond, New York, all the way down. So this is a big deal because basically this film raised awareness to a lot of the nations all over United States. All these unmarked slave are freed people who don't have don't really have like a gravestone. So this film exposed that, and the music that I helped online was were able to help magnify their narrative, and PBS picked it up, and then a year later it got nominated for an Emmy. It is an independent film in Virginia, so that blew my mind. I was just like excited, you know.
Yeah, that is super exciting. And alongside that, you also have a Billboard #1 hit with Red Velvet. Was the creative process for the film um, Unmarked different than the creative process working with Red Velvet?
Oh yeah, that was because interestingly, I did that song with my friend, my best friend actually, Kevin Mazel. Shout out to him. He threw to me the alley oop. So Kevin, he and I, we both were raised in that whole like Haitian community in New York. So he went off and did stuff with French Montana, the Coke Boys, and P Diddy and those guys. For those artists, and we kept in contact. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been through the humble beginnings together. So he hit me up. He was like, "Oh man, this is for a K-pop group." Or no, no. He asked me. Actually, originally the song actually was for Ariana Grande. It was for
Really?
her. Yeah, one of the writers, Lyre, Lyre, the singing group that do a lot of production for a lot of these K-pop artists. It was originally for her, and he sent it to me, and I was like, okay, let me see what I could do. And I did my part. He did his part, and I moved here uh, in March 2016, and then around February, that's when I found out. Yeah, it got Billboard #1. I was like, oh snap, that's that was cool.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because it was a song that I did in the kitchen or in a in the train, and I sent my song, my stuff. But where for Unmarked, I was in the studio with Jordan, and I was doing all my sounds, and I was just collecting all the assets for every possible scene that they would use, and I gave it to the producers. I was like, "Hey, do whatever you want with them." So it was a different process, but again, collaboration. That's the power of collaboration. Like you give your best, and you just hope that it lands. You know what I'm saying? But when
Yeah.
you give your best and you're aligned with the right people, especially for those very specific needs, there's no stopping you. You know what I'm saying? Why I gotta do everything? Just do your best and pass it along.
Yeah, collaboration is super important. And if there's one thing that you wish your clients knew about music production process, what would it be?
Learn the business. Learn the business. Uh, the production process, I was able to, I guess now in my later life, I learned now to delegate the task because even though I can edit and do all these things, I can, but I have two kids. Give people an opportunity to work
Yeah, yeah.
and enjoy the process because I feel like, you know what? I could cut myself 60, 40 to 60% off of what I make just so I could get more income.
Mhm.
Spread out to people who could do that work or specialize in that. So that way I don't have to worry about being up all night and all these things. So learn how the business is ran and choose what side you're going to be in. And then from there, um, advocate yourself in such a way that you don't have to show proof that you're worthy of getting this gig or this placement. It will only show by your work ethic and the quality of your work. And also, obviously, you get production gigs based on your social media posts and how you speak online and how you treat other people and other things that are on variables outside of talent. Because everyone has talent, but not a lot of people has the resilience to, advocate for themselves. Especially a lot of my clients and collaborators, a lot of them are women. So I feel that you got to learn the business, and once you know that business, you can hack it and leverage it by using skills and expanding your knowledge by creating strategic planning on how you would angle yourself in a way online that will draw other clients that will pay you more than the regular. So it's really about understanding that business. Everything else will take care of itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And to kind of switch gears here, you partnered with the Academy of Arts for an artist residency program in Lynchburg, Virginia. That's coming out in 2024. From
Yeah.
a local perspective, what are you most looking forward to as this program starts to unfold?
That's a good question. So I'm in a really interesting spot. It's weird because when I moved here to Virginia, it's so weird. Like when I moved from New York here, and I was doing music full time, and I was doing some tech jobs here and there, but I was doing mainly music. But now, what's interesting, because we talked about it. You know how much money you make on how much taxes you got to pay.
Yes, yes.
Yo, like I made more money doing what I love here, living here, than living in New York. And it's strange because all the opportunities are in New York. That's a falsehood lie. The opportunities are where you make it and how where your tensions are derived, because it didn't make any sense. I was like, I DJ'd here, I'm getting married, and I'm like, yo, I'm making more than living at home. Why is that? And I realized it's because when you move to a place and space that you are able to operate where there's no pressures around doing things that you want to go out and stuff like that, you could be at a place where you're needed and valued. So to answer the question regarding the academy, which is interesting because the academy is kind of like it's kind of like the Jefferson or like the Kennedy Center in DC or Carnegie Hall in New York. It's kind of like that kind of institution. Um, and we have it downtown as a way for a space for national acts come and perform here. We have the big orchestras, we have the children's program, the art stuff. So they they honored me to be in this artist residency program to help the city, create some kind of effort to not only help the gay culture but also bridge the gap between performance arts and education, which I actually work in education as well outside of all this as an IT
Wow.
specialist. And what's crazy is that they want me because that demographic, there's not too many people who have the technology, background in IT uh, and music as a whole. So I'm in a tight spot where now that I'm working for my job at the school, and then the academy is paying me to work in my job and teach the kids music and record them. And now that it's opening a realm of whole bunch of collaborations, which is so needed because this place is insanely talented. It's crazy. Like it's more, in my opinion, it's more talented than New York because
Wow.
there's a whole lot less people, but there's a lot more like the quality of amount of people that I meet here tend to be more than just a career person, more than just a real estate person or a pastor. They play organ, they play this. I'm like, they're a cook, they own this business. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm in some kind of utopia. So they allow me to have the autonomy to work in my field in tech and also do what I love in music because it's still solving problems. So my ultimate goal through this academy residency is to kind of like what Red Bull and Converse did in New York in 2013 or 14, where they they had programs where a free studio, they had big time musicians and artists come to record, and they do a sample library. And what's crazy during that time, this was post um gentrification, where now these places where there was factories and not known, now all these tech startups are going there. It's because of that, because these musicians, they'll record, play, they have these shows, and then Airbnbs are popping up, and then all these people are moving from Europe over there. I'm like, so let me try that. So my goal is to create a soundtrack for this city because there's
Okay.
so many amazing artists. So I want to do that to eventually help lead more um, independent businesses that are like struggling to get that recognition, to get these big name artists come here to record or rest here, or like find those places where I recorded so they could interact with the history, and African American history is in here too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I live only 15 minutes from Poplar Forest, which is Thomas Jefferson's home. I live 15 minutes from
Wow.
there. So, just says a lot.
Yeah.
So I want to be a person to bring that here.
That's awesome. That is amazing. And it sounds like that you have had a lot of opportunities, not only obviously in the music field, but just the networking in general. Why do you think that you've been so successful and have had so many opportunities presented to you?
This is a good question. This is a great question. Actually, a friend of mine, Dave James, he was online. He was on Facebook Live with his wife, and he was just sharing. He was exhorting, like, "Hey," and he put me on blast, and he made a really great point that I want to share with you. Um, the resume, it gets you the job. That connection gets you that job, but what gets you the promotion, what gets you wealth, is impact.
I like that.
It's being able to help that person, or the other person, and not expecting in return, but just knowing that you have the ability to help solve a problem. It could be very small. It could be like it's not saying giving everyone favors, but in that
Yeah.
way, it's like, like you put people on. People remember that, and I remember, just to go back. They didn't pay me for that Spider-Man gig for Marvel. They didn't pay me that. It was through the nonprofit, and I was fine with that. But little did I know that some years later, those alumni, those youngins that was gaffers, that was this, that was doing that. One of them, they went to Nike. They worked for them. The other one worked. And they calling me. They Instagramming me, and they're like, "Hey, we want you in this project." So it's like people remember how you make them feel, and especially when everyone's stressing, they see that, oh, you're not qualified for the job. You didn't do this before, and you make everyone look great. You know what I'm saying? And you did it in such a gracious way that you didn't expect it in return. That opens so many other doors, and that goes to say, like, there's times where I work with artists. I've given like ungodly discounts where it's like, man, why you're in business? But sometimes, and I say this, some money comes with a price.
Yeah.
Some money comes with a price. So I was like, I have this really talented artist. They don't got much money. They're making some decent income, especially those who are family, oriented artists. Like maybe there's a single mother or someone, just getting off their feet and they want to create this project. Like I cut some breaks, not all the time, but you got to be really exceptional for me to do so.
Yeah.
But even then, I do it at a way where it's like has to make sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I find it that impact comes when you help someone else, because you don't know what they're going through. Because online is you can see all their victories online, but you don't know what their victories are in their private life. They may not have any. So be that win. And I think that's what separates me from a lot of people in the industry, because I'm very talented. I know what I'm capable of, not just in the music industry,
Yeah.
but also in my trade, and as an IT professional, as I having teaching and training other people, you know, being able to simplify complex things. That's a skill set, a lot of people do not have, that could transfer over in any industry,
Yeah.
but also still don't care, about
Yeah.
what other people think, and not have to struggle because of the idea that I live my life open palms, and that explains why a lot of things come to me, you know and it's great that I'm a conversationalist, but also I care for people. I could call people off if they're not telling the truth or they're not living authentically, but you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah. Yeah.
impact is so much higher for me than income, because you cannot buy um you cannot earn or buy a story. You cannot buy hard work. You cannot buy resilience. You cannot buy respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on that level. So I feel like, and you could talk to the other collaborators that you saw I work with. They might say the same thing. Like I I treat everyone like the gold. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a purpose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's why.
I love that, the fact that you lead with not only impact, but you you have that awareness that it's not about how, it's about how you make people feel. And I think that's insanely important, not only from, like you said, a money perspective, but just a human perspective.
There we
And
go.
you also mentioned that you have 2 kids. How did becoming a father change your perspective on life?
Yo, let me tell you something. When my second child was born, what do you call this? Is imposter syndrome?
Yes, yes.
It went out the door. It just because I had my first child during the pandemic, and then post pandemic, my second child. I don't know what imposter syndrome is. It's like it's at the point where I hate to say this, but like, and I think it's not even an OCD thing. It's just like, oh, I wish I could have done this better. Like, literally, I hand in my, I can't say sloppy work, the work that in my OCD brain is not at the standard, and they're loving it, and I'm like, yo, and my wife just, she's always that voice of reason for me. She's reminding me, like, hey, maybe you're just overthinking things. Maybe you're just focused on the things that don't matter. Because at the end of the day, you could be a savant and want to strive for perfection at, of a certain thing, but we don't consider the end goal or the end audience who may not have the brain capacity and neurological connections that you have and sensitivities to see the subtle mistakes. And I embrace my neurodivergence. Maybe that helped me understanding I have a limited amount of time to create. That's what So being a parent made me a lot more creative, and I don't waste time anymore. Like, I did, like, I'm not exaggerating, since last January, I would average maybe roughly 30 songs a month. Like,
Wow.
yeah, 5 all by myself,
Yeah.
but because of my collaboration, I'm talking about 30 to 50 songs. No, like 30 to 40 songs per month. One, like maybe from one person, get 10 to 15 songs because I know myself, I know my strengths. So I'm like, okay, I could do this with this person. So I'm kind of managing my projects based off of what the client needs. And I'm like, let me multiply myself. And it's like, yo, I get a whole lot more done. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yes.
I met her for her. She'll tell you because she's a witness of my growth because
Yeah.
she now lives here. So man, I ain't playing games no more. So
That is
working
awesome.
with me, you get it done.
Yeah,
That puts me into more discipline.
for sure. And I have 2 more questions. One, if you could have dinner with someone from the past and someone from the present, who would it be and why?
Okay. Woo. Um, from the past, I would like to talk with. That's a really great question. Wow. I have to think about it. Okay. Someone from the past who I would talk to. Man, that's a great question. I guess let me think about it. So someone in the present that I would like to talk to. Um oh, okay. The past. I would love to pick the brain of Prince
Interesting.
because Prince, a lot of people don't know. He also have neurodivergence. From what I was heard, he also had Tourette's at some point, but he changed, kind of like your lifestyle. He changes eating
Yeah.
habit, lifestyle. I don't know if he healed from the Tourette's, but he definitely is a highly functioning neurodivergence because of the traits that he exhibited in the studio. His high output in terms of creating song after song after song. And this is like tapes. I'm talking about like you gotta cut the tape, and he played
Wow.
multiple instruments. Like you could not be from this planet if you operated at that level. I wanted to talk to him, uh, and because there's certain things that he understands about nurturing your craft and understanding the business, and he did both equally as well. And I'm sure he had a great team. And also, something that I admired him, his moves was very mysterious. He was flashy, but he was mysterious in a way, and I felt like that made him even the more of an influencer. Because if you think about it, Prince was the first person to really, before it was called the NFT, he was really the first artist to kind of create his own ecosystem. Like you had to, back in those days, you had to buy his membership, which was, I think it was $70 a month or something like that. And then you have to buy his money in order to stream his shows. And this is back in the mid 2000s. Okay. So he was on to something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just admired it. And also a quick story. I actually missed Prince by like 5 minutes. It was a friend of mine, Louise, she's from the UK. She invited me over to the village in the Lower East Side, and it's right next to the Blue Note. And I was actually supposed to play with the band, but I missed the set, so I had my guitar set up and ready. It was getting a little late. It was like 11:30, 12 o'clock. So okay, I'm gonna have to go home. It's getting late. As soon as I hit the D train express over the bridge, she texts me, "Bruv, Fritz is sitting right where you were." I'm like, so apparently he came through the exit. And it's crazy because the guitar that I had at the time, it looked like a guitar he would play. I had a Parker carbon graphite. It was beautiful. If I had stayed, oh my goodness. I missed about 5 minutes. So the future or the present, oh man. Someone in the present. I don't really know. That's a really good question. Someone in the present. I mean, it would have to probably be. I don't really know. That's a really good question. You know what's crazy? I think the president is messed up. I'd rather go in the past. There's nothing I could do. There's nothing I could really do in the present.
First person that comes to mind.
First person comes to mind. you know what's interesting? I might be canceled. I might get canceled if I say this name. Jordan, was it Peterson?
Yeah. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, he's very interesting.
Yeah.
He's very interesting. He came through a lot, and there's some things that he does subtly, branding wise, and especially with his daughter. They got a tight ship, man. They got a tight ship. I know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I know what they're doing, but they got a tight ship. They really know what they're doing. I want to talk to him.
Interesting.
I want to talk to this dude. He knows
That's
something.
A good one.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say Gary V, but he's overly polarizing and over-giving to the point where I could see what he is, and he's cool. But there's something different about Jordan Peterson that,
Yeah. He's definitely one that I would want to talk to as well. He's cooking for sure. For sure. One last question. Why did you decide to partner with us and offer the discounts?
Well, man, since day one, like you were the one who was it? Was it WTF Taylor? Only few people really took the time to sit me down and be like, yo, this is how the business go. Like, because during that whole bull run, man, it was insane. You know what I'm saying? When we met at NFT NYC, a lot of people said it, but you were the few people that sat me down and like showed me the game plan. You, Cade, briefly, a metaphor, like really showed me what it was, and got to meet you, got to know what you was doing. And I was like, okay, what you guys are doing is really great. You're building an ecosystem that obviously a lot of places, especially video games, already have been doing for a long time. All you're doing is just doing a different spin-off of terms of certain certain marginalized groups that don't have the opportunity to be in a ecosystem. You've opened those doors, which is amazing. That alone made me realize I need to be part of that in such a way that shows that my support, even though at the moment it's like, oh man, I would invest X and Y and Z. Actually, you know, it's crazy. Since we last spoke, I didn't really invest much in NFTs. I kind of put it on the hold because you know how everything lined up economically, and now they put in so much big enforcement. Then on top of the whole LLC thing, it's crazy. It's like they don't want us to be great. So I slowed down on the NFT for a while,
Yeah.
but the model, systematic model, it comes on other forms with the subscription, with other things, which I'm now implementing into my Shopify, which are easy plugins, which I could do using fiat money. But I learned a lot from sitting in your um from the can I was it Twitter Spaces, and
Yeah.
so the value that you've been offering so much, I was like, let me just be part of that. You know, even though I don't have like that much to invest at that moment at that given time, my given resources time as an investment could help someone else go further in their career. Let me just at least do that because I'm left with no excuse. Just because, and I say this on this podcast, I was like, just because you have no money doesn't mean that you're not resourceful. Because it's clearly the fact that in my life, not everything with money comes with wealth or comes with value. Because I've gotten paid amazingly by clients, and they treat me like I'm disposable. And but there's certain situation where I didn't get paid as much as I desired, but it opened so much more idea, so much opportunities for me that it made all my wrongs right, you know. So it's like
Yeah.
I come from that state of point of my intention, you know.
Yeah. I like that. And why did you decide to offer the discount or
Someone's
discounts?
there's other finestros, and there's other, you know, there's other people like yourself out there who don't got that like us. There's
Yeah.
others like us. We don't know. How will we know unless we don't do it? You know? There's
Yeah.
other There's other people like Jordan Peterson's out there, you know? There's other princes out there. How would we know unless we don't give somebody the opportunity to? It's not like we're freely giving that, hey, do this, do that. We're giving them that bridge
Yeah.
because we don't know who the next person is. And maybe that could have helped somebody complete their project or complete their podcast or their film or their video game. You'd never know. Because especially in these times, people need a break. People need a break. This inflation stuff is no joke. Like 6 months ago, I was able to get these things, but now I'm like, godly, we probably have to wait till next check. It's crazy,
Yeah.
literally. So it's like, who am I to say, oh, I'm, you know, no one's undeserving to get some kind of bridge because everyone is still catching up. Not
Yeah.
everyone has that, you know, freedom to choose to pay premium, but they could pay installments or at least get some here and there. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to not go over someone else and make money off of them. The goal is to solve a problem. If you're not solving a problem, then you are the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's my mindset. So rather sit around and here's what I can do. Here's, you know, it's like, yo, here's what's an offering that you can take advantage of that will not affect your business because you're not going to be in this state forever. You know what I'm saying? And offering discounts, you're going to come back. Trust me. You're going to come back.
Yes.
You're going to come back, and maybe because how well the quality comes to you from me and what I've been able to help you accomplish, whether it's music, podcasts, or post services or anything like that, you're going to have other people and call and maybe refer me to other people. And that's great because at the end of the day, I'm not giving anyone favor. I'm giving people the chance to do what they are called to do just as much as someone gave me the opportunity to be in those big rooms. My name
Yeah.
is in those big rooms not because I'm talented. I was in those big rooms because someone gave me the opportunity. So I'm just passing it forward. It's not a freebie. It's not like a I'm sorry for you thing. It's like, yo, someone did that for me because it's their core value. I'm doing it for someone else as well. So that's why I'm leading that forward, you know?
I love that. That is amazing. And is there anything that you want to add before we wrap it up? And where can people reach you at?
Yeah, you can reach me in my Instagram. You could DM me, Phinestro, Phinestro, all one word, in my Instagram, or you could direct contact me on my email. You go, I use iCloud because it goes to my phone, whatever. But or you could directly contact me on my website, which is Phinestro, Phinestro.com. Literally, I'm easy to find, I'm easy to talk to, and this is for all those people who contemplate whether you're an artist, whether you're a business who wants to get into podcasting or a video game, which I'm really happy. If you're into video games and developing video games, talk to me, come to me, talk to me. Because I definitely know this ecosystem, they need more representation, especially for people who want to get out there and they don't know how to talk to people, or like, oh man, I wish I got this. Sometimes you get in your way of your success. If you don't ask, you're not going to get nothing. So again, no project is too big or small. Just contact me, man. Just like, here's my situation. Like, I'm very understandable. I'm very diplomatic, but also I'm very negotiable. But at the same time, understand when you're coming. I understand where you're coming from is know your goal, and just don't be afraid to reach out. Like, not just to me, just anybody who's good at what they're doing. Whether it's, I'm really great at music production, scoring, immersive audio, all that stuff. You're great with finances and
Thank
and
you.
lining up, legacy building. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, just reach out, because you not reaching out only hurts your business, your future, not them.
Yeah, I love that answer. It was an amazing conversation. I actually learned a lot. Um, and you dropped some gems. I mean, there was some good stuff in there. So I just want to say thank you so much
Thank
for
you for having
coming
me.
on. I really appreciate just our friendship in general and this conversation. So, like, just thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Anytime for you, man. Anything I know that you're part of is worth investigating, because you never failed me yet, bro.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Finestro.
No problem. Thank you.